Okay, I think the day is coming to an end. I will be concluding this first day of the CREACT4MED second annual conference, and I also take the opportunity to welcome Christina with us today. Christina, she's the project officer from the European Commission, who is in fact our supervisor in this project from the European Commission standpoint. I think we had a great day. We have learned a lot. And I'm trying to think what I'm going to say to you, because actually there are several concepts that we have alluded, and it's becoming even more complex to deal with all the concepts in a coherent manner. Let me try as a good economist, because when I get a bit confused, I fall back to my spine to be able to at least provide some clear recommendations, or at least clear ideas on where we're going with all of this. First of all, as economists, we need to be able to define and measure concepts. This is the first step. It doesn't mean that our definition and our measurements are correct. They might be missing some points, and this is, we know it. Of course, not all of them recognize it, but at least the majority we know it. That's why we always call there are errors in our assessment. But then we need to recognize those errors, and whenever we present any recommendations to policymakers, they must be very clear. So there are errors, and we need to continue doing research, economic research, or any type of other research in other disciplines to be able to fulfill, or I would say, fill these errors or correct those errors. Okay, so starting with those concepts, culture, creativity, these are two very important concepts. They're very broad. And we're trying really to develop sectors that are based on broad concepts. So we need to also understand what these are about. So when I see this definition that we have used from the UNESCO, this definition is just one way to look at the two concepts, means creativity and culture. Now, if we look at culture and how culture has been defined in the literature, I think one of, I would say, as economists, we looked at the work of Geert Hofstede. So Geert Hofstede tried to define culture, and I'm going to read, as the collective programming of the mind that distinguishes the members of one group or category of people from another. So really, it's a differentiating type of definition, mechanism that differentiate people depends on different instruments, I would call it, and dimensions. And it's a programming of a mind. So it means that it's already starting from, I would call, a normative approach. So this is something that I'm not going to debate today, because it comes with different type of research that we are not doing in this specific project. But let me go with his thinking. And this thinking is actually has been used by many economists in their assessment when they want to, for example, use culture as a defining factor or a defining, I would call, determinant of a certain economic, I would say, process or development or action. And I go even to his main 5 dimensions: identity. So that's what we're also determining. Power, gender, which is becoming also, I would say, yeah, something that is changing nowadays. Uncertainty, of course, uncertainty is important, because uncertainty, we are living always in uncertain time, and time. So these are the fine defining factors of what Hofstede is talking about when he talks about culture. So in reality, we need to go beyond this thinking and also innovate and create within even what I call this cultural type of concept. And I always invite the researchers, economists or not, political scientists, social scientists, to really think a bit further into what really culture means for them, for their social development, social transformation, and also for their future. And this is something that we have to define. It's not written in stone, and we need to move it as much as possible based on history, based on social interactions, and based on challenges, societal challenges, because concepts are not static and we need to innovate in them. The second one, creativity. No, sorry, creativity. I'm not an expert of creativity. So I look at Theo, but then I'm going to say a few words. Now, looking at Google, it says that it's a phenomena whereby something new, valuable is formed. I don't know about this definition. It's new and valuable. So how do you define value? And how do you define new? For me, it's a process. It's a skill. And this is why we put it in the brain capital on the skills part. Creativity is a skill. Okay, how do you define a skill? Yes, we can think of imagination. We can think of sense of purpose. We can think of originality. We can think also of value. Because if we have imagination, purpose, and originality, we need to value it, to put it in our economic models. Now, of course, this is how our societies are developed. We need to develop our economic models. Now, our economic models are what? I mean, they are so far shareholder value based on systems that are anchored into the interest of handful of companies or handful of actors or handful of others. And it's very categorized. I think we have to simplify things. Yes, I agree. But then we can also we could also innovate within this, I would call it boxes that we create. So this is why, for example, moving from the shareholder value into stakeholder value, into community value. So not only focus on one bottom line, which is value, financial value. This is important for viability, because our system is based on economic system based on viability of companies. But also think beyond. Think, for example, for your stakeholders, your community, who you are impacting. You see, Salvador mentioned, for example, certain target groups who sometimes, when they are having certain disorders, they might be excluded or self-excluded from a community. But how we are able to include them creatively, and also at the same time changing what we think of culture and what we think of what the society is telling us to do. So the idea is to go beyond the reference model. Of course, the reference model, we know very well, it is, I'm not going to go on to the sustainability part, because for me, this is also important. We cannot be creative or linked to cultural activities while we are not sustainable. So we also have to protect our planet, because we are not the only, or the humans are not the only living beings in this planet. So we also are only part of the ecosystem, and we need to ensure that the others also are part of it. They are not excluded, not even because they are not human, but they are also animals that we need to take care of them. Now, we have to think from a transformative economic model. And I think the more I hear, I mean, of course, I had this, call it a dream, but then a dream is good, but then we have to implement, and we have to act, is to have culture, but then adapted cultural thinking, again, adapted, and creativity as transformative in our economic models, while also respecting the other constraints, sustainability constraint, environmental constraint, and inclusion constraint, because we have to include all the segments of the population, youth, aged people, and everybody with all their possibilities, because every possibility creates an opportunity. And I think this is what we have to focus on the opportunities. Now, of course, we also need to build on art. Of course, art, it's a huge, I would say, field, which we have to focus on. Art is a product, or I would say, of creativity, of culture, but of other things. And again, we can also innovate within that part. And also entrepreneurship. Now, entrepreneurship, it's the vehicle to be able to create the value. But again, it's not only financial value. So don't think only about the little tiny interest to create money or to make money. Create value. And value has to be community value, social value, environmental value, and then also intergenerational value. We, again, we have to think of the future generation in whatever we do. Now, of course, we need to think how to respond to our societal challenges. I think societal challenges are not the same in every, say, 100 years. We're changing. Now we have digital challenges, cybersecurity problems, we have climatic challenges, we have social challenges. We need to think our planet, it's smaller than the number of people that are inside. So we need to really think of very innovative ways to move forward and really try to go beyond all the stigmas and then try to collaborate and focus on what is really creating collective value. And this is what is the idea, collective value. Think together, co-create, and try to really be innovative. Now, failure in entrepreneurship, it's not a problem at all. Of course, multiple failure is maybe a problem. You need to adapt some things. But failure is a learning experience. And learning experiences means that when you fail, it's okay. It's first step. Second step, you will get it better. I think this is the whole idea. When I teach in business schools, and failure for me, it's a great first step to learn what you're doing. And I think this is also when you are in the art and culture industry where the concepts are not very clearly defined. So the probability of failure, it's a bit higher. And then this also does not allow you to access the funds you need, because normally when you go to the financial sector, they want things very clear cut. I want to see how much money you make, and then I give you money back, or you give me money back, because they think about themselves rather than your business, right? And I think this is the whole idea. The whole idea is really to try to think outside your own spectrum and try to innovate even in your business model. See, for example, it's not only about finance, it's also about your role in the community, your role on how to really make the impact. And I think it's impact-led rather than really focusing on the specific financial value that it is. So finally, I think from the work we have been trying to do also is transformation needs a lot of auto-determination and perseverance. And this is will allow you in a way to be transformative actors. So transformative actors means that you are really pushing the frontiers to the maximum. And I think this is, you need a lot of courage. And also you need to think that the impact that you have in your societies is important. It's also important. You have to understand it and also to try to communicate it in your business models. And this is why I think it's a great opportunity that, in fact, you have been selected in this I call it small pilot. It's not and then try really to think on every step of your work impact. So what is my impact for my communities, for my other part of your country, or maybe also in other countries? And this also will lead, and there is research on it, to much healthier societies, more well-being, more flourishing, and more sense of purpose on whatever you do. So I wish you all the best, and we will keep in touch, in fact, on all those works that you are doing. All the team will support you through CREACT4MED. CREACT4MED is a tiny little project, which in fact only is trying really to just give an example. And I look at the European Commission, and I think what you're doing in the region is really great, but it has to be upscaled as much as possible because the challenges are huge. And I think we need to really try to put all the efforts together collaboratively to ensure that this is really having an impact, not just this tiny thing that is not reproduced afterward. So this is it from my point of view. And I would like to thank Christine once again, because she has been standing up the whole day. Thank you very much. Luca, Mario, thank you very much. I know that there has been difficult with the technicalities in those hybrid events. Thank you very much for the work. And thank you all for this great day. And I see you tomorrow at 10 o'clock. Yes, so 10 registration once again for the second day. Thank you very much for all of you. And we have dinner at 8:30.